prominent opposition leaders have raised the alarm over what they described as a deliberate attempt by the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to undermine Nigeria's multi-party democracy through the politicization of anti-corruption agencies. In a joint statement issued on Sunday, leaders accused the federal government of weaponizing institutions such as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, the Nigeria Police, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, to intimidate and persecute political opponents under the guise of fighting corruption. The presidency, in a statement, however, denied the allegations. Taraba State Governor Dr. Agbu Kefas on Sunday officially registered as a member of the All Progressives Congress, formalizing his move to the ruling party. Kefas was registered by the APC Hospital Ward Executive at the Government House in Jalingo, the state capital. Speaking after his registration and the presentation of his membership card, the governor said that though he had earlier announced the suspension of his official defection ceremony, originally slated for November 19, in solidarity with abducted schoolgirls, he had decided to take the necessary step to enable him to fully take charge of party activities in the state. The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Dr. Kabiru Turaki, SAN, has stated that the task of sacking the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, from Aso Rock in 2027 is possible due to the incompetence of the ruling party, adding, however, that it won't be a tea party. Addressing journalists yesterday after a 40-minute closed-door meeting of PDP leaders with former President Olusegun Obasanjo at his Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, Abeokuta, Turaki stated that the frank discussion between the opposition party leaders and the former president has further inspired them that the task ahead is not impossible. Turaki led the party's newly elected National Working Committee on a visit to Obasanjo to secure his critical support and guidance ahead of the party's task. Joining us now on Political Brief to discuss these stories is Arise Director of News and Politics Editor, Sumna Sambo. Sumna Sambo, good morning, and good to have you again on the Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Rufai. Good morning.
Morning, Sambo.
Good morning.
Yours.
Okay, Sumna Sambo. Now, Saminu Turaki, Katie Turaki, is saying, they are confident that they will be able to displace the APC in 2027. Now that they have received the endorsement of no less a figure than President Olusegun Obasanjo. Is it that automatic? Do you think that the PDP is well organized enough to be able to pull that off? Now, Dr. Kefas of Taraba State has now more or less officially declared for the APC. Well, I say he won't be the last person. Maybe there will be more. And then we will have this, threat, reality of a one-party state. Now, would the reality of a one-party state, more or less, serve the interests of the APC, or could there be, some other implications? So there were other things on the political scene. Accord Party, they have issues in Osun State. INEC says it recognizes one faction. The other faction says, well, so as Dr. Governor Adeleke, as he pushed himself into trouble by going to Accord Party. Is Accord Party really factionalized? So this is just all politics. Your take on all of these issues that we have read out.
All right, let's start with the issues of the PDP, talking about, rest in power from the governing All Progressives Congress. There's no way the PDP stands that chance now. I think the best way the political party can make a headway in 2027 is actually to go into an alliance with other political parties. It's already late for merger. So the best way is for the opposition to come together and see if indeed they can stand together, unite together, just like they have united in a statement now from different political leaders in different opposition political parties coming together. If they are able to come together and form an alliance and they are able to agree on a strong presidential candidate and of course, a strong vice presidential candidate, I think maybe then the APC will be challenged. But as it stands right away, the PDP, as a main opposition party in the country, doesn't really stand that chance. Yeah, I know Turaki seems to be very optimistic. I mean, having met former President Olusegun Obasanjo, but you and I know that Olusegun Obasanjo didn't say anything publicly in that. I'm very sure he would have said that maybe if the PDP wants to actually stand a chance, it could be to actually give maybe Peter Obi, who's his preferred presidential candidate, the ticket. But we've also seen an Obasanjo also, visiting the presidential villa sometime last week to go and hold Christmas carol with the wife of the president, Mrs. Remi Tinubu. You would have seen that looks like political alliances are beginning to build up. And President Tinubu himself is a master strategist. You've seen what the PDP has turned to at the moment. Of course, you can't take that away from all the schemes and schisms that have been put in place by President Tinubu to ensure that, he gets his second term. Because, his own thinking is that, if other incumbents previously enjoyed the second term and the country gave it to them, including Obasanjo himself and then Muhammadu Buhari himself, why should he be prevented? So, he's used everything within his powers to actually ensure that he gets everyone, to sing the same chorus. But of course, we can't all sing the same chorus as a country, because as citizens, we have to actually see whether the government is performing or not, and then pass a verdict through votes to say if the government has done well or not. It's no longer like in the days where it would be automatic that because you're being elected, you're a northerner, automatically you must do 8 years, or you're a southerner, you must do 8 years. Yes, it sounds good to actually say that President Tinubu should just be allowed to do 2 years, but is the opposition itself also ready? Because the APC will not allow them to go ahead. And the playbook that Tinubu is actually using right now is to unite the entire South and see how he will work with the North Central to actually, have the day, just like former President Goodluck Jonathan tried to do in 2011, which worked for him. But unfortunately, in 2015, it didn't work for him. And then Obasanjo too used that. And then it worked for him to get his re-election for 2003. And then we come to the issue of the oppositions uniting together to actually call out the All Progressives Left federal government on the issues of, alleged witch hunt against them and all of that. Yeah, this is the old playbook that the PDP used in those days. You would remember that former President Olusegun Obasanjo used the EFCC as an institution, though he has repeatedly denied it, to actually ensure that governors who refused to defect were impeached, including recklessly without getting the numbers and all of that. And even former President Goodluck Jonathan also caused a lot of division in the Nigerian Governors Forum. Remember the 16/9 in the election of the chairmanship of the Nigerian Governors Forum between Jonah Jang, Rotimi Amechi, and all of that. This is because governors are actually very powerful. And Tinubu is using the governors to his own advantage now. But in terms of these corruption trials, what we want to see is for anyone who is actually mentioned to go and answer his or her father's name at the anti-graft agencies. But of course, the anti-graft agencies themselves, like the EFCC, is being, accused of being selective. For example, we have a classical case here between Alhaji Aliko Dangote and Farouk Ahmed of the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Regulatory Agency, NMDPRA, where Aliko Dangote clearly stated that the head of the NMDPRA used $5 million to actually pay the school fees of 4 of his children in Switzerland and all of that. Why is the EFCC not arresting Farouk Ahmed? He should be at the EFCC custody this morning answering to these allegations, or he should come out and address the media. Because Dangote said, if he rejects this, or he says it's an allegation, that he will bring the school where that money was paid, the school fees was paid and all of that. So why is the EFCC waiting for a serving government official who has been accused of this and hasn't been called? And then you see the likes of Malami, you see the likes of all these other people. We're not holding brief for them. Malami should answer to whatever has been brought before him on the Abacha loot, on his time in office as AGF. The same thing with Chris Ngige, with the NSITF. We kept saying all of this, including Olusegun Obasanjo himself, who used this same EFCC against others. But don't forget, recently, the EFCC went to the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library, and the same Obasanjo was shouting. Now, this is the same playbook that awaits the Tinubu administration. If they do not allow the EFCC to do its job, the Code of Conduct Bureau to do its job, the ICPC to do its job, because the next president that comes in will do the same thing. Don't forget, former President Muhammadu Buhari had told all his ministers that they should stand and bear their own name, not his name, because they will give account for everything that they've done. Well, that accounting day has come, and Atiku, Obi, and others should allow the EFCC to do its job as long as it's not selective. Well, for the last one you talked about, Agbu Kefas moving to the APC, you will see that there's a form of realliance, a realignment that's ongoing, including with his godfather, former, Chief of Army Staff, former Chief of Defense Staff, former Minister of Defense, General T.Y. Danjuma, who is the political godfather in Taraba politics. You see that there's an alliance. There's a sort of, alliance between him and the Tinubu administration. And it seems to have, dovetailed into Agbu Kefas now defecting to the APC. So it's nothing new. I mean, Tinubu is doing very well himself in that axis. Out of 6 states in the Northeast, it's only 2 states now that are being problematic. That's Bauchi and then, of course, Adamawa State in the Northeast, which is the home region of, Vice President Kashim Shettima. So in all, you won't blame Tinubu for getting all the governors to come close to him, as long as he's giving them the things that they are supposed to be done. But where is the place of the Nigerian people? And then the average Nigerian voter. But I think President Tinubu understands the psychology of the average Nigerian voter, that if most of their leaders get into the governing party, there's a tendency that they may want to follow. But people are saying that with the economic conditions of the country and what looks like poor performance in terms of governance in some areas, that the APC may actually suffer for it. But in terms of politics, look, you can't beat President Tinubu to it. He has done very, very well in terms of politics and getting so many political leaders by his side. But in terms of governance, has he done so well in that area too? Well, it's left for the Nigerian voters to decide in 2027.
All right, well, very well said. Thank you so much, Somna. Now, with regards to these mass defections, some analysts have the view that it might even cause problems for the APC themselves because there might be a battle for supremacy. Do you see this happening? Because in some states, in fact, let me use Rivers as an example. The governor has categorically said that he's 001 in Rivers State, and so he owns the structure. There are people who have been in APC for such a long time, and then we have these people who, for political reasons, are jumping ship and expect an automatic, in quote, election or selection as the party's candidate at the gubernatorial elections. Do you think this might pose some issues for the APC in itself? Have they thought this through?
Yes, of course. When you bring into your home an ant-infested wood, what do you expect to happen? The APC has a whole lot of challenges ahead of it. Because, with these politicians coming, I'm wondering how many people President Bola Tinubu can give appointments to. How many appointments are there, in the federal kitty for him to give to every governor that is bringing? Because it's not just the governor that's coming in. He will come in with his deputy, with, the Speaker, House of Assembly members, others, people. That's why I say there's a lot of grumbling. Those who work assiduously to ensure that the APC got into power in 2015, 2019, 2023 are yet to be fully compensated. And yet, they are adding more people from the PDP and other political parties into it. People who are supposed to be settled by other political parties based on the geopolitics and then, of course, the alignments and realignments of political, behavior everywhere. You'll see that, okay, for example now, if Governor Soludo of Anambra State comes into the APC now, for example, and he brings his people and all of that APGA is already settling, how are they going to be accommodated in the APC? So that's why you see multi-party democracy is the best, Because a governing political party cannot settle everybody. How many members, how many people can become the members of the APC? It's not all Nigerians can be members of the APC. Assuming we have 100 million voters, can everybody become members of the APC? We all can't. So that's why you see the voters will always be there. And then the members of the party may be like 1 million or 2. And then from there, you'll be able to see how you distribute largest. And then, of course, other political parties will take care of the smaller ones. So I don't envy the APC, including the new national chairman, who doesn't have so much experience in governing a national political party, but the 2027 general election is going to be his first test. Because all these people who are coming in and they will need board appointments, they need other federal appointments, and there's a whole lot of grumbling. I know people who work very hard for President Tinubu and are grumbling right now that they've never been given any position, and they don't mind whatever will happen in 2027. They will personally, out of their own grievances, vote against the president or work against the president, not because of that, but because when you get into politics, it's all about compensation. You have people who have worked for you too, you must also compensate them. So, well, Tinubu is doing very well, and he may likely, get all these governors to his side and maybe get a good outing. But of course, the implosion that will happen ahead, especially of 2031, is what will be very, very difficult for him to handle. And of course, he may want to impose his candidate if he does win 2027 in 2031, and some of these governors that he's bringing in would be his albatross because they will fight against him. We've seen this. We've seen this happening over and over. So it's the old political playbook, and the Nigerian political elites don't understand that multi-party democracy helps the state of health. Now, our democracy is active, but is it hale and hearty? Well, this is the question that the APC should be asking. And I don't think it's in the interest of the APC itself for all politicians to come into the party because they can't withstand the demands of all the politicians.
Okay. So APC has now become an all politicians camp. Anywhere they want to go, they just camp themselves. But I also want to talk about the dynamics of a couple of things. Number one, reward system. You talk about reward system. There's a story making the rounds about President Tinubu giving somebody double promotion in the military in the space of a year. There's also a talk that, in fact, somebody has sent this to me about the military pension board, that it must be a serving general from the rotating services. There's been a lot of talk about people feeling disgruntled. Reward system, the ambassadorial list, which a lot of people that were abusing President Tinubu a couple of years ago are the ones that were given. Secondly, reward system. Who will the president work with in Rivers? Will it be Fubara or Wike? Because the Wike camp was not even aware Fubara was going to decamp. Then let's also talk about cul-de-sac. Accord Party cul-de-sac for Adeleke in Osun State. That's one now. Another faction had their own candidate recently. They had a party primaries and all of that. Could that be a cul-de-sac? So the two topics will be reward system and cul-de-sacs.
All right, when it comes to the reward system in the All Progressives Congress, it's very, very poor. I've never seen a party that has been stitched together like the APC at coming into power and then kicking against those who helped it to come to power. The good thing about the PDP is that it was organic during its formation. But the APC was, an SPV, a special purpose vehicle that was put together to win election. And because of that, you had different colors coming in. Of course, you had the AMPP, you have the, CPC, and then of course, the Tinubu angle, AC, and all of that. Now, you've seen that the CPC have taken a chunk through the 8 years of Buhari. The AC, ACN, they are currently in power right now. And then, of course, you see the AMPP, and then, of course, a faction of ABGA, they've all been thrown out. And that's why you see the likes of Oyegun is fighting totally against the Tinubu administration and all of that, because they felt that those of them that came from the AMPP have not been properly rewarded and all of that. Yes, you may say that Kashim Shettima actually came from that AMPP angle, but of course it came in very late before he eventually got in. The APC has not been known to totally have a very good reward system. And that's why even President Tinubu, while he was, in the party before he became the president, was actually very angry with Buhari too, that most of his ACN, political group members were not properly compensated by the Buhari administration. And so that's why you see that even, for example, Tinubu himself was supposed to have become the chairman board of trustees of the APC. But eventually they canceled this and said there was nothing like chairman board of trustees again. It was now a national advisory council because some people were against Tinubu being rewarded to be the BOT chairman of the party because they were afraid that he was eventually going to become president and become too powerful. But, of course, they eventually would then settle and give him the, sophisticated title of being, quote, the national leader when you don't have anything within that. So there's been a problem, and that problem will continue. And that's why you see Tinubu only gives appointment to those now who become his huge critics. I mean, this army of critics who had been there over time criticizing him. Okay, if you've been criticizing over time, let me just see how I can throw one or two things to you. But the real people who worked, for example, there's a friend of mine, Dr. Danladi Bako from Sokoto, with all the hits that he took against the Tinubu, campaign and all of that. Where is he today? And there are so many people like that who are on the ground, who don't know what to do with the next election. But of course, some of them are loyal party members. They may want to follow. Others may want to fight against Tinubu, from within. And then you take a look at some of the issues you talked about. The philosophy that the Tinubu administration has politically, which is to cause serious division in political parties, in other parties. Like, for example, Accord Party that you're talking about is still the same strategy because the Accord Party is accusing the Tinubu administration of wanting, through the APC, to create division so that the way they divided PDP, they divided the Accord Party there, and Governor Adeleke will be removed. But look at the APC itself. Haven't you seen what Yola Mishore is saying? So why must we continue with this current division every now and then? In Rivers State, well, of course, as it stands, there's nobody who can take the leadership of the party away from Nyesom Wike, who has helped to strengthen the party. But as long as he has not defected formally to the APC, there's no how that the party can confer the leadership of the APC on him in that state. And that's why you see that the national chairman of APC asked Tony Okocha to ensure that Governor Simfubara was given the 001 of Rivers State. So it's a tough time.
Okay, Sumna, I was going to ask you.
Issue, Sumna, that's a very pressing matter. The double promotion of the military officer in President Tinubu's cabinet. That's a matter that is raging. And then there are a lot of people disgruntled in the military.
Yeah, yes.
But that's not politics.
Yes, actually, that is not the military tradition. That is not the military tradition. And President Bola Tinubu should be very careful not to cause a whole lot of discontent in the military, because you only give special promotion where the person actually deserves that. Yes, I know that he's the commander-in-chief and he has the authority to do that. But even then, when you're conferring special promotion, there has to be a reason why you do that, not just because you are the commander-in-chief and you have the powers to do that. If not, it will be an abuse of the privileges, because look, he's also been promoted to be the traditional ruler of his community. If you want him to go and become traditional ruler, why don't you just do that?
Okay, so now
this may cause a whole lot of discontent, and you should allow the military to do their job, not him.
What the military tradition says is that for you to become a brigadier general, you must have gone to war college, you must also have gone to staff college, and that promotion within the military from one rank to the other should take at least 5 years. And the argument that the ADC to the president was promoted in 2024. Why is it being promoted again, a year later, against the tradition that I've just defined? So that could affect esprit de corps. It could raise questions about favoritism. But I was going to ask you, after Abu Kefas, the governor of Taraba, who is next? Who is going to jump ship next and get into this behemoth that the APC is becoming? Who is next? Who is likely?
I will ask you to just very quickly, you show Adamawa State, and then, of course, Plateau State is there. These two, and then, of course, you go to the southeast, they are really looking for Alex Oti very, very well. But, of course, then the major challenge will be that, if these governors decide to go, they may lose their political base, because the dynamics of the Nigerian politics is that not everybody can always be in APC. There are some, voters that they just feel happy being in the opposition. And I think President Bola Tinubu sensed that as a skillful political strategist by allowing Governor Chukwuma Soludo of APGA to continue, to be in APGA while he supports him. And you will see that there was no major opposition to his election, recently. So President Tinubu should see how he can work out an alliance with some governors and not necessarily force some of them to come in. Even when they want to come, he should tell them to hang on, stay there and build your party and support me to win my election.
Well,
because you can serve me much better in the federal elections. And
if they want to jump ship and go to APC, the president is not likely to stop them. But I imagine that Governor Alex Oti may not move, and APGA, Governor Soludo may not also move. So you can be sure about those ones. As for the two other examples, let's wait and see. Thank you very much, Sumna Sambo.